the last 30 years, Zaha Hadeed has gone from paper architect to global megastar.
Dear distinguished guests, friends, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this special event as a tribute to Dame Zaha Hadeed. It gives me great honour today to be your chair for this event. As we see, our programme consists of 2 parts. To start off with, it will include the event opening speech, co-sponsor speech, a film and 3 presentations. The second part will be a fine art exhibition by a prominent Iraqi artist dedicated to Dame Zaha Hadeed at 7:30 p.m. It will be in the main building, opposite on the other side of Gower Street. Our team members will show you the way, or you can follow the signs if you want to rely on yourself. Please also make sure to complete the evaluation forms at the end, as we definitely value your opinions. Finally, 2 points. Please note the fire exits on both sides, and please switch off all of your mobile phones. Thank you very much. So to start off, can I invite Dr. Jahan Baban, Chair of the Iraqi Organization's Coordinating Committee, to deliver the opening speech for this event.
Distinguished guests, friends, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you all to this event celebrating the life, creativity and achievements of the late Dame Zaha Hadeed, an Iraqi tribute for one of Iraqi's greatest. It is with great sadness and sorrow that the preparations of today's event were overshadowed by the heinous criminal act of murdering and wounding vast number of victims in Baghdad and other areas of Iraq. The Iraqi community are united in their condemnation of this crime and express solidarity with the victims' families. I invite you all to join me in a minute's silence in remembrance of the late Zaha Hadeed and the victims of terrorism all around the world. Thank you. It is with pleasure that I stand here on behalf of the following organizations: the Association of Iraqi Academics, the Al-Kindi Society of the Iraqi Architects and Engineers, the Iraqi Fine Artists Association, Iraqi Welfare Association, Iraqi Women's League, Iraqi Cultural Cafe in London. These 7 organizations, who all agreed to form a joint committee to coordinate and host today's special event to celebrate the life and work of the late Dame Zaha Hadeed. Therefore, credit goes to all organizations and indeed individuals who contributed to make today's event a great success. So many thanks to them. I also extend my gratitude to the British Institute for the Study of Iraq, who have kindly co-sponsored this event. The great artist Salvador Dali once said, "Have no fear of perfection. You will never reach it." Ladies and gentlemen, Zaha Hadeed proved him wrong. Zaha's energy, curiosity, imagination, innovation, vision, and her passion is pushing boundaries of traditional constructs, aesthetics, when creating building or object is perfection personified. These are just a few features of her character as an individual with a dual cultural background, Iraqi and British. What she has achieved is astounding. Alas, she left us early in her life before realizing fully her dreams and artistic aspiration in architecture and art. So who was Dame Zaha Hadeed? Dame Zaha Muhammad Hadeed, DBE, was an Iraqi born in the second largest city in Iraq, Mosul, on the 31st of October, 1950. Her father was an economist, industrialist, and a minister of finance in 1958. Her mother was an artist. Dame Zaha was the first Arab woman to receive the Pritzker Architecture Prize in 2004 for 2 consecutive years. She also received the Sterling Prize in 2010 and 2011. In 2012, she was appointed a Dame Commander of the Order of the British Empire. In 2015, she became the first woman to be awarded the Riva Gold Medal. She was icon of neo-futurism with formidable personality. Her acclaimed work and groundbreaking forms include the Aquatic Center for the London 2012 Olympics, the Broad Art Museum in the United States, and the Opera House in China. Closer to our heart are the designs that Zaha led for the new Central Bank building in Baghdad and the Iraqi Parliament complex. We very much urge the Iraqi government and colleagues at Zaha Hadeed Architects to continue to work to ensure completion of these projects to realize Zaha's dream. Academically, Zaha had a distinguished career too. She was appointed as chair at Harvard Graduate School of Design, University of Illinois at Chicago School of Architecture, Yale School of Architecture, and a guest professor at the HFBK Hamburg, Architecture at the University of Applied Arts. For 3 decades, Zaha has ventured where few would dare. One of her colleagues, in a speech about Zaha, said, "If Paul, please, took a line for a walk, then Zaha took the surfaces that were driven by that line out for a virtual dance, and then deftly folded them over, and then took them out for a journey into space." Zaha replaced spiky architecture with attempts to capture the dynamics of movements and characterized a fluid, futuristic approach. Dear guests, the above is a very brief account of her achievements. Moreover, this short opening speech gives no time to speak about Zaha in depth. About her brilliance as an architect, her opposition to discrimination and prejudice. She was also gentle, kind, and funny. She was disciplined and having rare kind of courage. With with yearning to her Iraqi roots. Zaha passed away on 31st of March 2016 unexpectedly. She will be dearly missed by her family, colleagues, friends, and the arts and architecture community worldwide. Zaha leaves behind an architectural legacy that will be taught for decades and will go down in history as one of the greatest free spiritual designers and architects of our time. The Iraqi community is proud that today we pay tribute to one of our own. Thank you very much for being here with us today, and I hope you will enjoy the program that we have prepared for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ba'aleh, for such an amazing opening speech celebrating the life of Zaha Hadeed. So this is a message from the BISI, which Dr. Ba'aleh mentioned in her speech. And they have said, it gives me great pleasure to express the delight of being able to co-sponsor this event. Unfortunately, due to the changes in Dr. Fikura's travel plans, she's not able to be with us today. However, she does wish us great success for this event. Now, our next item on the agenda is a documentary film about Zaha Hadeed. I would also like to just say that Mr. Chalabi, who works in the University of Baghdad, has actually contributed to the making of this film.
Could you dim the light, please?
In the last 30 years, Zaha Hadeed has gone from paper architect to global megastar. Her extraordinary architecture doesn't just stand. It melts, it slides, it whooshes, it jumps, it moves. Her buildings make us feel like we're in another place, another world even. A Zaha-shaped world. Zaha Hadeed has won all the top architecture awards, the Pritzker Prize for Architecture and the Sterling Prize twice. This year, she's even been named Businesswoman of the Year by Verve Clicquot. Born in Iraq in 1950, Zaha Hadeed is now a dame of the British Empire.
Zaha's story is absolutely fabulous. She is the greatest woman architect, not in the world now, probably ever lived. And she's right here, in London. You can touch her. Oh, well, almost.
She does demand attention, and she gets it. She goes to the States and she has dinner with Obama. She is a superstar. She's a fantastic gossip. She loves to hear about people. She's a great mimic. She's a person that you wouldn't want to leave the room at dinner with for fear that you're going to find yourself the subject of conversation. She is the nursing architecture to the round table, the Algonquin.
She relishes form. So form for her, whether it is form that she draws, or form that she wears, or form that she lives with, it's about an all-encompassing vision. She is a complete work of art.
Zaha is, if you know her and if you understand her, very inspiring person.
But you have to have patience. You have to give her room. If you try to constrain her, then she will explode.
The winner is a great architect who happens to be a woman, Zaha Hadeed.
Thank you very much. My old accountant, he used to always tell the tax people that I was a ditzy princess from the Arab world, not knowing that I came from a family who did not believe in the monarchy, but anyway.
Zaha's father, Mohammed Hadeed, was the leader of the Iraqi National Democratic Party. He'd been educated in England. It was a cosmopolitan household.
It's so extraordinary, this child of yours in Baghdad, because the way you describe it, it's such a civilized place.
It was an amazing place, really. Great people, very open society, fun.
You travel a lot. Here's another picture, lovely picture.
Of me in Rome.
In Rome. And then I've also got this picture of you with your parents in Rome.
Yeah, the same trip. I think...
You look like a child who was loved.
No, I had a fabulous childhood. You know, I went to an amazing school, a nun-school. It was an interesting time.
Also, you're a Muslim girl in a convent.
In a convent, and the same with the Jewish girls. We were obliged to go to chapel and pray. And then I used to go home and wondering why my parents are not praying. And they finally told me that, you know, well, we're not really Christians. And so I thought at the time, so why do I have to do that, you know? So we were allowed not to go to chapel for prayers. So we were brought up with that moment where, you know, there was an interest in education, there was also interested in architecture, and so I think it was an interesting time.
Architecture was seen as a means by which Baghdad could build a new identity. The city looked to the A-list of modern architects. Frank Lloyd Wright, Alvar Aalto, and Le Corbusier were all invited to design plans. Walter Gropius's university building still stands as testament to Baghdad's belief in modernist ideas.
Up to even 20 years ago, people did not anymore believe in what I always call the fantastic. They did not think that world is possible. And some people still don't think it's possible. And it is. You know, we do this really so you can be in a very simple space like this and feel good. And it's simple as that. When they could notice to us why it's empty, do a party. We could do a potato party here.
What kind of party?
A potato party.
I don't know why you put up with it.
Well, we want to do a party with serving every kind of potato. But it looks like a potato chip anyway.
لكن سوء الحظ انه نظام الجامعه يمشي على الدرجات. درجاتها بالعربي والجوين فوق ال90 والنظام مالي انا ما ادور فوق ال90 نظام جامعي صحي بني لان اولاد المقبل دولة واروح فكل تمنياته وابوها ووصل قاسم حسين والترتيب الرجال هاي تحب المعماري وتحب تجي بس عندكم خاطر الله حاول تقبل شو اسمه ما اقدر اداره وكالة جامعة الكوفة للتخلص من الكابوس، لأن أقدر أتحرر من الأموات بالترتيب وأسوي جامعة عالمية ترتيب إن تربية ممكن. فهذا بالنسبة لي اللي يحاربون عليه. نصمم على أساس لاندسكيب، ما تصمم بناء، تصمم كل شيء قبل ما تصمم كل شيء. هل لاندسكيب، هل البيئة الحديثة، هل ترتيب، شو تطلع؟ طلع شيء فضاء يعلو على الأرض مثل العلم الصندوق أصبحت طبعا هي ما تاخذ العمود وتجسر وتسوي منه أدوية تكعيبية مثل ما يعني ماشيين بيه، ولكن هذا مش هذا. تاخذ الجانب الجديد في التعامل مع الطبيعة، التعامل مع الطبيعة، احترام الأرض. فالأرض من تمشي بها في كل خضار وجمال وترتيب، وعليه تجي مراكب في شيء من عند هذا مداخل مثل هي متأثرة بالشكل الحيوان، شوفوا الفيل قد كبر بس وين موقوف؟ على شنو يجيب؟ مع الطبيعة مع الأكل مع الترتيب، هاي المخلوقات هالجلد شايل جسم هالكبر. ليش من البناء نسيب؟ ليش من الجسم والكبير أخليه فوق سطح الأرض وعندي تكنولوجيا وأحب الأرض وعمران الأرض وسماها.
وقالوا عن زهاء. حدث الأستاذ هشام منير قائلا عنها: أنا أعتبرها نجمة رائدة وعبقرية، خلقت مدرسة لفلسفة عمارة جديدة وشكلا جديدا وتقنيات جديدة ومواد جديدة للقرن 21. لقد ألهمت أجيالا جديدة وأثرت في أجيال أخرى. لقد سلطت طرقها الديناميكية والمتقدمة ورؤيتها الفريدة للأشكال المعمارية الضوء على العمارة من خلال مشاريعها المشيدة، والتي أصبحت نقاطا شاخصة في أرجاء العالم. إنه لشرف وواجب والتزام للعراق ليشيد المشروع الذي صممته للبنك المركزي العراقي، ليضاف إلى تاريخها الإبداعي ببلدها ومهد الحضارات العراق. وعن إبداعاتها وتصاميمها قال إندرياس روبين وهو ناقد للفنون المعمارية: إن مشاريع زها حديد تشبه سفن الفضاء، تسبح دون تأثير الجاذبية في فضاء مترامي الأطراف، لا فيها جزء عال ولا سفلي ولا وجه ولا ظهر، فهي مباني في حركة انسيابية في الفضاء المحيط. ومن مرحلة الفكرة الأولية لمشاريع زها إلى مرحلة التنفيذ تقترب سفينة الفضاء إلى سطح الأرض، وفي استقرارها تعتبر أكبر عملية مناورة في مجال العمارة. كما وصفها المعمار نورمان فوستر: إنها الشجاعة والقناعة والمثابرة، إنها ملكة الهندسة المعمارية الإبداعية في العصر الحديث. ووصف المعمار بنكرهاس تلميذته المتخرجة: إنها كوكب في مدار يعصى التقليد، إنها مزيج من الجمال والقوة، إنها سخية للغاية وخفيفة الظل بشكل لا يصدق، كانت ممتعة بشكل هائل. وهذا هو السبب الذي جعل الكثير من الناس مستاءون للغاية منها، والقسم الآخر منهم يحبونها عميقة للمتعة التي قدمتها إلى كل منا في حياته. إنها شخصية ذات شجاعة فطرية نادرة لم تبنى بشكل تدريجي. من الطالبات العربيات اللاتي يمنن للأشكال الحرة في التصميم لأنها تشبه حروف لغتهم العربية. وأضاف قائلا: من الأهمية بمكان لعمل زها حديد كونها ولدت في بغداد، وإنه لمن الغريب أنها قد وصفت باعتبارها مهندسة معمارية بريطانية وليست عربية. على الرغم من لغتها الإنجليزية القوية، كان واضحا جدا تأثرها بالثقافة العربية. أول شخصية عربية ألتقي بها، ومنذ تلك اللحظة أصبحت متعاطفا بشكل كبير تجاه العالم العربي. كانت مساهمة زها حديد في التصميم متفردة وكبيرة، من خلال استلهام جزء من الماضي ببناء المستقبل بطريقة من التلاعب السلس. زها حديد فخورة جدا لما حققته كامرأة، ولا يمكن التعامل مع إمارتها على أساس كونها امرأة أو عربية. إنها قدمت مساهمة هائلة كامرأة، ولكن أكبر مساهمة لها هي كمهندسة معمارية.
So I'd like to thank everyone who contributed to that film, and even though there were credits, but I'm sure there are people behind the scenes that we haven't heard of, but thanks to them for documenting this for us. So our next speaker is Ms. Raya Ani, who is the elected president for the American Institute of Architects in the Middle East.
My story with Zaha. Dubai, March 31st, 2016. All of a sudden, Zaha was gone. I wondered then whether that was the right time for her to go. Is it okay? Is the sound okay? No. My story with Zaha. Dubai, March 31st, 2016. All of a sudden, Zaha was gone. I wondered then whether that was the right time for her to go. Don't we need her to stay with us longer? I froze. Time stopped. For a few days, I was trying to wrap my head and emotions around the subject. At the time, I was working on an invited competition to design the women's building in New York City. The project was about transforming what was a correctional facility for women, prison, into a hub for women's empowerment. It was about changing what was wrong about women to a place where women were empowered, leading the way and helping other women all around the world to be empowered. Needless to say, the project meant the world to me. It transported me back to my beginnings in Iraq, where I used to feel powerless during the war. I was determined to give it all and to help build a place where women will be empowered. It was a very challenging time, long working days, hardly any sleep. I did struggle with what it meant when Zaha left us unexpectedly. Taking you back in time to just before 1990, as an architecture student studying architectural engineering at Baghdad University, Zaha was the architect we looked up to. She symbolized an architecture vision bigger than life, more than our minds were able to grasp at that point. We loved her drawings, her aspiring vision, not because we didn't understand her completely at the time, but because she represented something ideal, not easily accessible. The promise of a new perspective, her drawings were different and didn't use a conventional way of representation. She definitely had a complex, unconventional view of our reality, and she was determined to make it accessible to all. If you say her earlier drawings were about style, you simply have missed the point. It represented her intellectual investigation, her reinterpretation of the reality, while she imagined new forms that allowed maximum freedom. The relationship between the sky, the earth, the relationship between forms and its relationship to the ground and to the orthogonal reality as we know it was completely challenged in her work and drawings. The powerful presence of her work was assuring, projecting a new world ahead of us, where the impossible seems more possible. We saw in front of our eye how hard work and persistence can break you through barriers and make yourself visible, and your vision visible and accessible. Her brilliant contribution to the architecture world is not only through the tangible aspects and various manifestations of her work, but through the intangible legacy she left behind. February 1991, Kufa, Iraq. Recalling my time with my family, we left our home in Baghdad and rented a house in Kufa. We were few families who lived in the same house. Few of them are sitting here in this room. This was in the midst of the Gulf War. Warplanes were roaming in the sky above. We had chickens outside the house. We were listening for a broken sound in the ongoing sirens, the sign for a chemical weapon attack. We knew if the chickens were to die, we would die next. We were silently watching the chickens from our plastic-covered windows. I remember looking out of the window, feeling powerless, and wondering whether we are heading towards our end. We were the invisibles. I remember I used to escape from everyday reality of war through drawing and reading and to improve my English. I was determined to leave, to gain higher education, and to empower myself. Fear was everywhere, the fear of war and the aftermath of the war. But I had no fear in my heart. For me, the reality we were living was more scary than what lies ahead. The reality, the dream, the nightmare were all blurred when you are not sure what is real anymore. Zaha was fighting her own battle. I don't really see it as much different than my own battle. She was asserting herself. She was making the world take notice of her aspirations, of her vision. And she worked hard to give her vision a voice and to empower her reality. My personal encounter with Zaha probably did not exceed 3 times. I was introduced to her through my professor at Harvard, who referred to me as the young Zaha. I was told this throughout my studies and career. A woman, an architect from Iraq, bold and fearless, it is quite expected. It always made me feel uneasy and shy. This tied me to her in ways that I might not have been conscious of. In the early 90s, she gave a presentation on her work at the Harvard School of Design. I remember the slide was upside down, and she jokingly said, "I can't tell if the slide is upside down or it is the building design." Then she commented on being criticized and attacked by some professors at Harvard for being a bad influence on students by smoking. She replied, "If you stop bombing my country, then maybe I will stop smoking." She smoked everywhere. One last time was at the Guggenheim Museum in New York in 2006, where she had her exhibition. We exchanged a smile and a hello. I remember very well. She was at the ramp, she was warm, and she seemed to be very happy with where she was at the time. Her work transcends the physical reality to represent much more. You could talk volumes about her work, and I just realized that nobody had pushed the slides. It's okay. The slide is, the slide represents her work as just a backdrop. Her work transcends the physical reality to represent much more. You could talk volumes about her work and her relentless effort to push the edge, to make her visions real. But for me and many others, she gave us way more than that. We are inspired by the sense of hope her buildings exude, her journey exudes. It's something for everyone to tap into. But for us Iraqis, she represents a whole world of hope and optimism. For us, she is Arab, she's Iraqi. For me and all the women, she's a woman. For me as an Iraqi woman, and for all the Iraqi women out there and out in the world, she's an Iraqi woman. For me and for all the artists out there who has a unique vision of the world, who struggles every day to make their vision a reality, she is that for all of us. For all of us, she represents the power of persistent love, passion. She also paid the cost of daring. In April, the despair of her loss transformed into an additional energy that pushed me to work even harder. I simply had to continue. While her story remains in our hearts and minds as a story of determination, belief, and working against gravity, she will always be an icon of hope. Her story empowered us as Iraqis, empowered us as women, empowered Iraq as a place where for years and years people outside couldn't locate us on the map. For many architects, it empowered them and inspired them to pursue their dreams. And possibly after realizing all of this, maybe after all, it was the right time for her to leave us. Her spirit will forever live with us. Rest in peace, our brilliant architect. Much love and all the admiration to you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Annie, for such a personal and touching account of your experience with Zaha Hadeed. I'm sure this resonates with a lot of people who are in the audience today. So our next speaker is Mr. Aman Munna, who's a prominent Iraqi architect and former project manager at the CBI project with Zaha Hadeed.
Can you hear me? Good, great. Good evening. My contribution tonight is going to be slightly different from the rest of the contributions. You heard about Zaha Hadeed, you heard about her life, you heard about her contribution. My contribution is going to stem from my experience of working directly with her team on the design of Central Bank of Iraq. I was the project manager employed by the bank itself to look after the project itself and deliver it throughout all the stages to completion. I left halfway through, but nevertheless I maintained my relationship with the team. As everybody knows, the Central Bank is at the moment occupies a number of buildings in Rashid Street. Neither the buildings nor the location are appropriate for a modern bank, let alone a central bank of a country like Iraq. And therefore, a solution had to be found. The governor of the bank at that time, Dr. Sinan Sharibi, took the initiative of actually inviting Zaha Hadeed. He took the initiative of actually creating that project. He obtained the approval of the government to discuss it directly with Zaha Hadeed, to invite Zaha Hadeed as a direct appointment, and he purchased or investigated really obtained the land which the government purchased. So the credit goes to Dr. Sinan in obtaining or instigating the project. Zaha Hadeed was invited initially to look at the initial ideas of creating a central bank in Baghdad. The brief was very simple. We had a piece of land. We require offices for so many numbers of staff. How can we fit them in? With all the requirements of a central bank, a modern central bank, with a new communication, with the security, and so on and so forth. This development took 5 months. Zaha Hadeed undertook the study for 5 months. A number of investigations directly in the bank itself in Baghdad, 3 workshops, and a number of visits to international banks. After that, in December 2010, the team submitted what they call brief development report, which is an inception, really. It is not design, it is an inception. It is setting the scene to go to the next stage. So the brief was a strategic approach to the development. How do we go about developing the design? What are the requirements? How do we deal with the areas and the budget and security and going and so on and so forth. So it is really just setting the scene, as I said. It is an inception rather than design. Now, I have a number of observations which relate to the way the profession actually operates in Iraq. One of the first observation is what does a brief development mean in the inception? There isn't a full understanding of these stages of inception, design development, working drawing, and so on and so forth. That is not very well appreciated and understood in Iraq. The brief the brief development is only setting the scene. It's not design. The design is to follow. And that, again, took a lot of effort to try to explain it to people. And the need for specialist consultancy. Unless you do that design, that study, you will not know what type of consultancies you will require, what type of studies you require, what type of specialties you will require. And finally, the need for project management. Again, that is something which was alien to the tradition or to the culture, professional culture in Iraq. And it was left to Mark Collins and Mark Dempsey, who were advising the bank, to insist that they really need a dedicated project management team to take the project forward. Appointment of Zaha Hadeed followed from that report, and the contract was signed in London after a number of offers were submitted by Zaha Hadeed, and then basis of the contract was set based on FIDIC, the international form of contract, and negotiations started or commenced mid-2010, and it was completed by 2012 in January. The negotiation completed in January 2012 when the contract was signed in London at the Albert and Victoria Museum. The appointment is 4 stages. It is 26 months. Actually, it took 32 months to complete the design stages. And then there was a hiccup at the beginning, and of course, then additional period for approval and what have you for the stages. But 26, for all intents and purposes, it was kept and worked within that program. The appointment described everything about the project, about the services to be provided, not the project itself, the services to be provided, but from the consultants themselves, each consultant, what they are going to provide, how they are going to provide it, the stages, what have to be submitted at one time, and so on. It's fully detailed in that contract. And the services also, there are services which are excluded because we weren't aware of how much we need. We know we need security, but when we believe that security needs to be implemented in this project unless we go through the design and unless we do more studies. So therefore, there were a number of exclusions, and that was one of them. The team itself is a huge team. It's a design team. It's not just the Mahadi. It is 12 companies providing no less than 20 services, various services, engineering, advice, working closely with Zaha Hadeed, working practically together all the time to develop the design. And therefore, bringing me to the second observation, how do you select a team? The culture in Iraq is you are the architect, you are responsible for the design, you are responsible for everybody involved in that design. This is not the way we carried out this project. It was a collective effort. The client, the project managers, and the whole team, you saw the 12 companies were involved in that process. That is a collaborative process, is a partnership. It is a daily relationship. We don't wait until the end of the stage, and then we look at them and comment and send them back. That is not the way a major iconic project like this can be delivered anywhere in the world, not just and it's the practice in Britain. And it is the relationship with the consultant as well, which is very important. There is that dialogue and interactive relationship with them. The client is actually involved in knowing what the consultants are doing, how they are doing it, who from those consultants are doing the work. To the degree that any changes, for instance, Tiago, who worked with Zaha Hadeed, who was going to leave the team and go to America, it had to be discussed with the client. It couldn't be just, we change it and bring somebody else. We had to discuss with them who is going to replace Diego, how is that team going to be structured, going towards the next stage or more. Let's compare that with another invitation to tender. And this is a major one, University Development and Medical Teaching University in Iraq. One of the 6 pages, that's the invitation to tender, which will be the contract, by the way. Once you agree, that's what you sign. And the other one was 23 pages. It is very general. It is international. It is specifically asking international to tender for that project. and of these two projects. They're similar, although they're not exactly the same, but they are similar in terms of the items I'm highlighting. They're asking for the return in Arabic, so we're talking about international. To me, like the Chinese did, if they wanted the knowledge, they want over there, and we put that knowledge in that language. If we want international consultant, then we must talk to them in their own language and understand what they are providing in their own language. They insist on it being in Arabic. The only information they provided on the site is a Google map. That's what they provided. And they asked the consultant to price it, and they will be responsible for actually carrying out the site investigation, the survey, the soil investigation, and whatever is required. It is their responsibility. Again, the consultant is, as I said before, although they did list some of the consultants, but it does add and says, and any other consultant that's required to complete the work, and that's it. So it's a blanket. They have to sign a contract with the 14 days after the government accepts it. It means there's no negotiation, that's it. What there is, and I see some people who have experience in dealing with these situations smiling, because they know what I'm talking about. Within 14 days they have to sign. It took us 6 months to actually decide exactly what is to be delivered by the team. To me, what is not acceptable is when it says any future official directives, the government issues a directive in the future, it becomes part of the contract. The contract is signed 6 months ago. But any future directive has to be. Anyway, arbitration, there's no legal position to the contract. It's only resolved by arbitration. And the final arbitration comes from the engineering union, Iraqi engineering union. So it's arbitration is not supposed to be unbiased, it's supposed to be, there's a center in Paris which deals with arbitration, and that is ignored, and it is the engineering union. So you can see the environment, you can see the culture that is created in the professional industry in Iraq, in the building industry in Iraq. The project management was set up, and as I said, there was an issue with what type of project management do we need project management. I'm not saying we can't have a project management from the start. Already within the establishment in Iraq, within the institute itself, or the company or government department, but it has to be dedicated team. And there was a problem here. It requires that team to have an identity, and they didn't understand that. The identity has to be the higher up, the guys higher up. If it is a bank, then it is the bank. It is not the identity of the team. There was some friction regarding that, and Yasser will remember these issues. The project management team did not just look at drawings. It had a number of issues to deal with on the ground, from investigation to action. There is pump station which had to be removed. There is the drainage which wasn't capable of dealing with building of that size. There are departments. I said the highest building in Iraq, it was going to be the highest building in Iraq, and therefore aviation and Air Force have to be consulted to see whether it was on the right path or not. So there are other great issues to be dealt with, and sorry, I can't go through them because of time. So really, as I said, the important thing is to work as a client, as a project manager, as consultants, as one team. It's a definitely, we used to have a video conferencing with them, apart from the monthly report, and follow up at the end of each stage. The design itself developed throughout that period of 32 months. From even the tower itself moved, as you can see, from the top left-hand side to the bottom right-hand side. It moved from being on the river side to being on the Kerala side, with the vista actually between it and the river, as it should be. And various aspects why the shape took, why the shape changed. There are many technical reasons why these changes happen. It's not just when we would like the design to be like that. It's to do with circulation, it's to do with land use. And as you can see, the design have matured and became a proper building that we can be proud of. The important contribution from many of those consultants who took part in the development of the design from the structure, which was very tough. It's not an easy structure, as Dr. Makia said. It's not two colors in a beam. It is a different type of configuration of the building. The surfaces, which look at every aspect of the sun, the angle, where it is month by month, as you can see through that circle. We have facade engineering. We did not rely on the structural engineering, the architects, to divide to work out the facade. The facade is very complicated, and many aspects have to be included, including cleaning, by the way. How do you walk on the glass and clean the glass? You have big buildings, you have a lot of glass, you have to walk on. How do we deal with that? Landscape and the relationship to the river, and extending the landscape to the river. Constructability. Before we even have a contractor, we have to look at the practicality of the building. It's a big site, it's going to have a big hall, all the buildings around it are going to collapse. You still working? It's a big building. If we dig it to build the basement, everything is going to collapse, and therefore we had to do something else, and that is what is known as top-down construction. We took the decision from early days to go for a sustainable building, a green building, a friendly building, or environmentally friendly building. And therefore, we decided to go for the BREEAM, which is the British certificate, to give us the standard which we think is achievable in Myanmar. And we have to deal with that during the design, during construction, and the 3 years after completion before they give us the certificate. And we took the initiative as well as the project managers to further that concept of green building. So we produced leaflets and distributed to every member of the bank. I'm sorry if I just take 1 minute, because this is important. When when we discussed this with the Ministry of Environment, and the engineer of the city, and we told them what we are doing with regard to the sustainability. One of the engineers stood up and said, in English as well, aren't you doing too much? He's surprised that we are doing these things instead of encouraging us to do it. Interior design is another aspect which was developed, and the important part which I would like to highlight is that because of the security, the podium is fairly solid, very little windows, and therefore we are relying on roof lines. And roof lines in the design process was put in such a way that we can actually see the tower wherever we are. And the building, in conclusion, what we learned from the bank, from working on the bank itself, is that we need to change the culture in Iraq. I believe very strongly that the culture in Iraq, in the profession, needs to be changed. And it is changed within the community, the building industry community, whether they are builders, whether they are consultants, whether they are clients. But also we need to change the culture as perceived by the public. And we have to do that collectively. And of course, it requires regulation changes, it requires directive changes. And thank you very much.
I would like to call our next speaker, who is Mr. Ahmed Saleh, who is the founder of the Tamayiz Award for Architecture.
Can you hear me? Yes? Okay. Good evening. My name is Ahmed Saleh. I am a lecturer at Coventry University and the founder of the main. Those were the main obstacles for us. A few months before that, I met Zaha. It was the opening of the Riverside Museum in Glasgow, and it wasn't very fruitful, that meeting, because I was starstruck. I was with the BBC, they spent 3 hours with her. Those 3 hours I spent it just like that. I couldn't talk. I've done 5 years at university, just getting excited looking at her projects. So it wasn't very useful, but I said, I met the people in the office, they are nice, let me talk to them and see what we can do. Sent an email to Roger, who was the PR officer, and a few days after I received a call from the office. They said, we're very interested. Zaha loves such initiatives. Can you come and let's discuss it? So I went there. This time I said, I will talk. Just stand and smile. I went there and I said, that is our proposal. What do you think? He said, I have 2 questions. Why me? And what's the benefit of it? Now, the benefit of it is, what I said is, we need to give opportunity for the Iraqi graduates. There are 3 decades or more of our graduates, of architects, finishing school, and they don't get an opportunity, unfortunately. So maybe we give their sons and daughters that opportunity. And the reason why you, because first, everyone loves you. We, the young graduates, the young architects, this generation, and I dare call it the Zaha generation, is we love her and we will believe in it when she's part of it. The second thing is if she is part of it, it will be credible. And people will be interested in listening to our stories. We have a story to tell. Architecture in Iraq has a story to tell, but no one is interested. That's what I said. It was short, sweet, 10 minutes. I got her to judge, and she said, on top of that, my PR team will help you. You have a problem, people believing, I'm part of you. We will do it together. I didn't ask for that. It was 2, oh, thank you. She announced, the team, the PR officer announced that Zaha is going to judge Tamayiz on the 21st of August, 2012. On the 22nd of August, my phone didn't stop ringing. All those people, I sent them emails and I called them and I said, we're starting this. They just ignored me. Not interested. Okay, you have an award in Iraq, so what? Now they want to know, who are the other 11 members of the panel? Who are the other sponsors? And email everything. So we got that, and then in Iraq, after they saw all the headlines, all people saying the Iraqi Sterling Prize, Zaha judges the first architectural prize in Iraq. Since 2 decades, people started talking about it in Iraq, and little by little, students, we had probably 35 participants, it went to 159. Just like most of the people were interested. Zaha is going to see my project. It would be crazy if I don't submit to this competition. So she solved this problem for us. But the biggest impact of that, let's say in 2012, was people started believing in us. And now we have a platform to tell a story. Now, if I look and I say 2016, what was the impact? of her sponsorship. The first thing is, we worked with Zaha Hadeed architects. You cannot do half work and work with them. You have to be precise, you have to do what you're asked to do properly. It's embarrassing to do something that is, let's say, someone said, you can't do perfect, let's say, close to perfect. You need to earn that respect. And it's reflected on the way we work with the students. Now, it has been running for 5 years. All the students, on time, they submit, they follow the rules. It changes. We're trying to be, she's our inspiration. We're trying to be like her. And it's very important. The second thing is, when she judges and sponsors an award, everyone wants to be part of it. She is cool. She was cool. We all want to take a photo with her. Why? Because she's cool. Right? Especially the architects. I know you can see all my photos. So happy. Sponsors would come. Judges would come. And also, she was a symbol of neutrality. She was neutral. She didn't have political affiliations as Zaha or religious. And we have to be the same. And we have been doing the same for the past 5 years. Educational impact. We started to getting people saying, we'll give you a scholarship. You know, because to be honest, the government will never give a scholarship. Okay, they don't know me, they don't know my father. I'm not going to get anything to give to someone. So we got the Iraqi Business Council, we got Majda Sachs scholarship coming to us and saying, let's give your winner a scholarship to go and study abroad. And we have 4. We have 4 studying. We have Wa'ad, we have, well, he won the awards last year, the winner of Tamiz. He's now in London. We have 2 others in Coventry now. So it's working. It's just because people want to be part of it. The other impact, which is, I think, is the most important, is the social impact. There is a big social impact by Zaha being part of this award. And she felt it, because on that day, when I explained, it is difficult for us as Iraqis to, well, let's say, for a start, to find something to do, okay? And she said, imagine if you're an Iraqi woman. What helped, what I think the change that no one other than Zaha can do is the social change. In the past 5 years, we had a lot of young ladies winning top 3, top 4 those awards. Now, they dare and say, I want to go abroad and study. I want to go and do my training in Dubai, which also we offer, without having to take the whole family because the community will say, or the society will say, oh, you can't send a woman on her own. First, it's not fair, but now, because they know Zaha was part of it, they say, yes, go, good luck, you deserve it. She changed that mentality. Whoever goes there and their name is linked or affiliated to Zaha, we wish them good luck. We don't say, oh, why she's going on her own. The second, and the most important, the second in terms of social impact, which I think was worldwide, is the platform to tell our stories. Our stories and our struggles are different from the rest. And I'll just, let's say, put it all in one day, one event, and what happened. It was the 15th of October, 2014. The judging panel for Tamiz Women in Architecture was convening in London in the Design Council. The judges were Jane Duncan, President-elect of the Royal Institute of British Architects, Angela Brady, immediate past President of the Royal Institute of British Architects, Claire Devine, Director of Design Council, Commission for Architecture and Built Environment, and Annie Graham, who was the Dublin City Architect. 4 of the most powerful, most influential female architects in the UK, if not in Europe. They would have not come to this award if it wasn't Zaha, the year before them, was a judge. They were sitting, we received 22 entries from women, different sectors, working on different places in Iran. One of them was for a lady called Nida Juburi. Nida was a fantastic architect. She was a role model to young architects. She was a community architect. She was working with the Ministry of Municipalities. She had an objective. Her objective working there is, I need to get water, drinking water and services to all the villages in south of Iraq. And she did a fantastic job. Whoever knew her loved her. Imagine, in Iraq, where we don't appreciate hard working, they said, no, let's celebrate her achievements. As a municipality, there was a celebration of her achievements. A car bomb goes in Dadaab. That happened in 2007. We heard of it 2014. But it doesn't mean you have to stop. Now, we have a platform to tell those women, like, how can that happen? I thought you have problems with equal pay, and said, no, our problems are bigger. And that's one example. So that is the most important thing that we got from Zaha. People are interested in our stories. I've been to a few speeches and a few talks about those female architects, those women architects, those influential ones. When they go and they talk about women in architecture, they mention Nida. Everyone wants to know more about her. So, what I want to say is, until the central bank building will be built in Iraq, Zaha's legacy in Iraq, I know in my dreams, I know, believe me, Zaha's legacy will be her contribution to Tamayus. And we know it was a dear cause to her, because the day she was judging Tamayus was at that day her brother passed away. And I still received it on the day. And she was sending emails every now and then saying, what about this? So I know it was her. So it's a dear cause, it's a journey we started with her. And hopefully we will continue. Thank you very much for your time.
Now, we're very fortunate to have a representative of the Hadeed family amongst us today. So I would like to call Mr. Nick Williams up to the stage to come and give us a bit of a talk about the family.
I wasn't really prepared for giving a lecture about our family, and I think many things have been said this evening about my grandparents and my father and my aunt. But really, I'd just like to thank everyone for organising this event and for coming tonight. It's been really interesting hearing all these talks, and thank you all very much for coming. Thanks.
Now, for the closing remarks, could we please have us to have our father onto the stage to address the audience?
Ladies and gentlemen, we hope that you enjoyed the first segment of today's program. Really, it has been a great effort to bring together 7 of the oldest and most prominent Iraqi organizations operating in the UK for the benefit of the Iraqi community, both in Iraq and in the UK, together to commemorate and celebrate what we believe is one of Iraq's greatest children, the late Dame Zaha Hadeed. It's really a tribute to this great architect that we have been able to form together to come here today and invite you all to celebrate with us her life, her achievements, and pay tribute to her. We are very fortunate that the family of Dame Zaha Hadeed was represented with us today. Also, many of her friends and relatives are here. I would like to call my colleagues, Dr. Jihan Baban and the other organizing committee, to join me on the stage to offer our thanks to Mr. Nick Williams on behalf of the family and receive a simple gift of flowers from the Iraqi community in tribute to the late Dame Zaha Hadeed. Thank you.
Dear guests, we're coming to the end of this part, so please do cross the road safely, follow our team members all our times, and there'll be an exhibition, refreshments and food. Before you leave, please complete all your evaluation forms and hand them to one of those exhibition members. Thank you.
In the last 30 years, Zaha Hadeed has gone from paper architect to global megastar. Her extraordinary architecture doesn't just stand, it melts, it slides, it whooshes, it jumps, it moves. Her buildings make us feel like we're in another place, another world, a Zaha-shaped world. Zaha Hadeed has won all the top architecture awards, the Pritzker Prize for Architecture and the Sterling Prize twice. This year, she's even been named Businesswoman of the Year by Verve Clicquot. Born in Iraq in 1950, Zaha Hadeed is now a Dane of the British Empire.
Zaha's story is absolutely fabulous. She is the greatest woman architect, not in the world now, probably ever lived. And she's right here, in London. You can touch her. Oh, well, almost.
She does demand attention, and she gets it. She goes to the States and she has dinner with Obama. She is a superstar. She's a fantastic person. She loves to hear about people. She's a great mimic. She's a person that you want to leave the room at dinner with, feel that you're going to find yourself in a sort of conversation. She is the nursing architecture to the art of the Algonquin.
She relishes form. So form for her, whether it is something form that she draws, or form that she wears, or form that she lives with, it's about an all-encompassing vision. She is a complete work of art.
Zaha is, if you know her and if you understand her, very inspiring person. But you have to have patience. You have to give her room. If you try to constrain her, then she will explode.
The winner is a great architect who happens to be a woman, Zaha Hadeed.
And thank you very much. My old accountant used to always tell the tax people that I was a ditzy princess from the Arab world, not knowing that I came from a family who did not believe in the monarchy, but anyway.
Zaha's father, Mohammed Hadeed, was the leader of the Iraqi National Democratic Party. He'd been educated in England. It was a cosmopolitan household.
it's so extraordinary, this child of yours in Baghdad, because the way you describe it, it's such a civilized place.
It was an amazing place, really. Great people, very open society, fun.
You travel with, here's another picture, lovely picture.
I've been in Rome.
In Rome. And then I've also got this picture of you with your parents.
Yeah, the same trip. I think
you look like a child who was loved.
Yeah, I mean, I had a fabulous childhood. You know, I went to an amazing school, a non-school. It was an interesting time.
Also, you were a Muslim during the convent.
In a convent, and the same with the Jewish girls. We were obliged to go to chapel and pray. And then I used to go home and was wondering why my parents were not praying. And they finally told me that, you know, well, we're not really Christians, and so I thought at the time, so why do I have to do that? You know? So we were allowed not to go to chapel for prayers. So we were brought up at that moment where, you know, there was an interest in education, there was also interest in architecture, and so I think it was an interesting time.
Architecture was seen as a means by which Baghdad could build a new identity. The city looked to the A-list of modern architects. Frank Lloyd Wright, Alvar Aalto, and Le Corbusier were all invited to design plans. Walter Gropius's university building still stands as testament to Baghdad's belief in modernist ideas.
Up to 20 years ago, people did not anymore believe in what I always called the fantastic. They did not think that world is possible. And some people still don't think it's possible. And it is. You know, we do this really so you can be in a very simple space like this and feel good. And it's simple as that. Can you be known to us by it's empty? Do party. You can do a potato party here.
What kind of party?
A potato party.
I don't know why you put up.
Well, we want to do a party with serving every kind of potato. But it looks like a potato chip anyway.
لكن سوء الحال انه نظام الجامعه ينشئ درجات العربي والجوين فوق 90 والنظام مالي المدى لو في نظام جامعي سخيف جميل ان اولاد الاقبل ذولا وعرفوا فكنت منيات الامور والوصف قاسم حسين والترتيب الرجال هاي تحب المعماري وتاكيد بس خاطر الله حاول تقوى خصوصا مرة إدارة وكالة جامعة الكوفة للتخلص من الكابوس والأجواء تحرر من الأموال للتركيب وسووا جامعة عالمية تركيب خبيرة فهذا بالنسبة لي اللي أحبون عليه نصمم على أساس يلمس فيه نصمم كل شيء جرب نصمم كل شيء هل يلمس فيه البيئة الحديثة حتى في الطلع ولا كشف فضاء يحلو على الأرض مثل العلم الصبر أصبح طبعا ما تأخذ العموم والجسر تصل من الأدوية تفعيلية مثل ما يعني ما في بيئة ولكن لا نستطيع أخذ الجانب الدين التعامل مع الطبيعة التعامل مع الطبيعة احترام الأرض فالأرض تمشي إلى في كل خضار جمال ترتيب وعليك مراكب في شيء ومن عندها على مداخل مثل هي متأثرة بالشكل الحيوان شوفوا الفيل ذات كبرى بس وين واقف علشان يجي ضاع الطبيعة ضاع اللجنة ضاع الترتيب هاي المخلوقات الجد شايل جسم الكبرى ليش ما نجمعها نسيح ليش ما الجسم الكبير أخليه فوق سطح الأرض لأنه تكنولوجي وحب الأرض وحب الأرض وعمران الأرض وصمامها
وقالوا عن زهراء حدث الأستاذ هشام منير قائلا عنه أنا أعتبرها نجمة رائدة وعبقرية خلقت مدرسة لفلسفة عمارة جديدة وشكلا جديدا وتقنيات جديدة ومواد جديدة للقرن 21 لقد ألهمت أجيالا جديدة وأثرت في أجيال أخرى لقد سلطت طرقها الديناميكية والمتقدمة ورؤيتها الفريدة للأشكال المعمارية الضوء على العمارة من خلال مشاريعها المشيدة والتي أصبحت نقاطا شاخصة في أرجاء العالم. إنه لشرف مواجه والتزام للعراق ليشيد المشروع الذي صممته البنك المركزي العراقي يضاف إلى تاريخه الإبداعي ببلدها وتحقيق قرارات العراق وعن إبداعاتها وتصاميمها قال ينظر أسلوبي وهو مواطن الفنون المعمارية إن مشاريع زهاء حديد تشبه سفن الفضاء تسبح دون تأثير الجاذبية في فضاء متعامل لا فيها جزء عام ولا سفن ولا وجه ولا ماء فهي مباني في حركة انسيابية في الفضاء المحيط ومن مرحلة الفكرة الأولية لمشاريع زهاء إلى مرحلة التنفيذ تقترب سفينة الفضاء إلى سطح الأرض واستقرارها تعتبر أكبر عملية معمارة في مجالها كما وصفها المعمار نورمان فوستر إنها الشجاعة والقناعة والمثابرة إنها ملكة الهندسة المعمارية الإبداعية في العصر الحديث وصف المعمار من كلها تلميذته المتخرج إنها كوكب في مدار مسطح إنها مزيج من الجمال والقوة إنها سخية للغاية وخفيفة الخل بشكل لا يصدق كانت ممتعة بشكل هائل وهذا هو السبب الذي جعل الكثير من الناس مستائين من ذلك والقسم الآخر منهم يحبونها عميقا بالمتعة التي قدمتها إلى كل منها في حياتها إنها شخصية ذات شجاعة فكرية نادرة لم تبنى بشكل تدريجي من الطالبات العربيات اللاتي يمنن الأشكال الحرة في التصميم لأنها تشبه بلغتهم العربية وأضاف قائلا إن الأهمية بمكان عمل زراعي كونها ولدت في بغداد وإنه لمن الغريب أنها قد وصفت باعتبارها مهندسة معمارية جديدة وليست عربية على الرغم من لغتها الإنجليزية القوية كان واضحا جدا تأثيرها بالثقافة العربية أول شخصية عربية في التقرير ومن تلك اللحظة أصبحت متعاطفا بشكل كبير تجاه العالم العربي كانت مساهمة زهاء حديد في التصميم متفردة كبيرة من خلال استلهام جزء من المواهب المستقبل بطريقة الاطلاع حساس زهاء حديد فقيرة جدا لمعرفة الكلمات ولا يمكن التعامل معها